Hi, my name is Rebecca and welcome to Yarn and Pajamas. So today we have another Hooked on Murder, and Hooked on Murder is just essentially a crochet and chat. We're going to sit here and chat, and I'm going to tell you a true crime story. So grab yourself something to work on. I'm working on this rescue doily. I'm attaching it to this hoop, and I'm going to gift it to my sister for her house. And I am drinking some strawberry lemonade. So grab yourself something to drink and your craft project, whatever you want, and settle in, because tonight we're going to travel back all the way to 1987, and we're going to go to San Diego, California, and we're going to talk about the murder of Pamela Russ. Okay, let me grab my tools here. So, the year is 1987, and on February, I've got a few notes here. On February the 1st, on North Torrey Pines Road in California, a woman's body was seen laying in the middle of the road. So these men that were going to work found her body, and they called 911. So when police get there, they find a woman laying in the middle of the road, and she had been badly beaten and run over. And they were perplexed as to where she came from. But a little ways down the road, they see a car, a Mercedes, parked along the side of the road. So they walk down to the car, and inside they find all of the woman's belongings. Her wallet was in there, and her driver's license indicated that she was Pamela Russ. She also had 2 receipts from an ATM machine and $60 in cash in her purse, in her wallet. So the cops are looking over the car, and they start to see some evidence of that the car was used to murder Miss Russ. They start finding blood in places that blood shouldn't be, on the hood and on the windshield, and they determine that Miss Russ had been hit by her own vehicle. So while the cops are at the scene, they get a radio from the police headquarters that there is a gentleman there by the name of Charles, and he goes by Chuck Russ, and he's there to report his wife as missing. So the police go back to the headquarters while the coroner and the rest of the team is processing the scene, and they go to speak to Chuck. So Chuck tells them that they are getting ready to go on vacation to Australia, and that man, there's one of my hairs in there. They're going on vacation to Australia, and Pamela had went out the night before to go to her studio and retrieve some items that she needed to take for the vacation. So Russ is becoming more and more upset as the interview goes along, and they finally have to tell him that they have already found his wife and that she is deceased. And he is upset because he stated that he had been looking for her after she didn't, come back home. So he's been in contact with her parents and her mother, and her brother, and they end up at the police station as well, and they are informed. So some time starts to go by, and they do an autopsy on Pamela, and they find from this autopsy that she had been beaten prior to being run over by the car. But her essential cause of death was like the trauma from the car. They found marks on her head that were a match to the specific rims on her Mercedes car. So they were wondering how she could have gotten those marks from the tire, the rim, on her head when, you know, she was struck by the car. So they go back out to the scene to see if they can find more information, and along the side where her car had been parked, they noticed some footprints. So they, you know, gather that as evidence as well. And they noticed like the footprints from her and then an unknown person, and it was a size 9 Reebok tennis shoe. And they could follow the footsteps and see that that's where the struggle had taken place. So they believe that she was beside of the road, and the attacker came up and hit her and caused her to fall and hit her head against the rim of the tire. So they now know that that's how she was attacked. So they start looking into like who would have a motive to hurt Pamela. Now, she was an artist and she had an art studio in a rather not great part of town. So they started there. They go to her art studio and they notice that the answering machine is lit up with messages from people that are looking for her. So this is after the husband, Chuck, had alerted her family and friends that she was missing. People are calling and left a message. Now, the police officers find this to be odd because when they were questioning Chuck, he had said that the first thing he done was call her studio, and that it just rang and rang and rang and no one answered, not even the answering machine. But there were several messages from other people on the answering machine, so they wondered why he was lying about that aspect. So at this point, they start to suspect or start to look into like the marriage, like find out more about what their marriage was like. And it seemed idyllic. They were like a well-off couple. They didn't have any children. They were kind of like, they done a lot of travel. They traveled a lot to like the Middle East. They done a lot of travel to like Hawaii and Australia. And they were actually, you know, getting ready to go on a trip to Australia in just like a couple of days. So, I swear, I keep crocheting my hair into the thing, and it's bothering me. So they like to travel. They are kind of well off. Chuck owns a telemarketing company, and she owns her own studio for art. But as they start looking into more financial matters, they find out that Chuck has failed, his business is failing. So they see that it's in financial dire straits, and they start seeing that he has been like robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically. So he took money from Pamela's mother, her life savings, like $80,000, and he was supposed to invest it for her, which was, you know, why she gave it to him. But he put it into his company, his dyeing company, as like a last ditch effort to save it, and it did not work. It did not save it. So they were essentially broke. And authorities start to surmise, as they're looking at the bills, that the only consistent bill that Chuck has kept up on was the life insurance for Pamela. It was for $600,000. That was the only bill that he made sure was paid. Like, he let the mortgage go, the car payments, their cars were about to be repossessed, all of that, except for that one thing. Her insurance, her life insurance, was paid in full, I guess. So the police start to suspect that he may have a motive with the financial bit, and that is why he killed her. So they start looking into more of the money thing, and they go and get some more financial records, and they look into the ATM transactions that Pamela had. Sorry, I have to take a drink. And Pamela went to one branch of her bank and just done like a balance inquiry. So, and then she drove from there to another bank and withdrawed $60. And the police thought that was funny, because one of the things that Chuck had told them in the initial interview was that she had like $28,000 on her as in traveler's checks, because they were getting ready to go on vacation. So the police looked into that and found out that Chuck did like initially purchase the tickets for Australia, but he never paid for them. So they did not have like their tickets. They, weren't going. It looked like they were going, but not. So this is about like 3 months after Pamela was murdered, and they have enough circumstantial evidence against Chuck to apply for an arrest warrant, and they did. But at this time, he had moved to New Mexico, and once they got the arrest warrant, like, he skipped out. He like left. So for 2 years, they couldn't find Chuck. He was on America's Most Wanted, the TV show, and an anonymous tip went in that he was living down in Florida. So the cops in Florida go down and they find him exactly where the caller said that he would be. So police are investigating like his going-ons in Florida to see if they can find like any evidence. And his girlfriend, his Florida girlfriend, told them that he had a bunch of stuff in storage that he had brought with him when he moved to Florida. So the cops are like going through some of that stuff, and they find a pair of Reebok sneakers, and they make a cast of it, and it's a perfect match to the sneaker cast that they had from the beside of the road. And so the cops' theory about what happened was, on the night that Pamela was murdered, that the couple had an argument, and that she had found out about the money issue, and she had went out. They think that she had went out, went to the bank, done the balance inquiry, and then took out the $60 and come back and confronted him, Chuck, and they had a huge altercation. And she's like, hey, you know what? I need to go. I need to not be here right now. I need my space. I'm going to go somewhere. And they think that she was probably going to go to like her mother's house or her brother's house. So as she's driving down North Torrey Pines Road, she realizes that Chuck is following her. So she pulls off to the side of the road, and he pulls in behind her, and she gets out, and they are confronting each other, and he strikes her and hits her and causes her to fall and hit her head on the tire, and then they struggle. They think that she started at this point to run down the road to get away from him, and he gets in her car and hits her, causes her to fly up on the hood of the car and up onto the windshield, and then he slams on his brakes, causing her to slide off, and then he backs up and then runs over top of her, and then parks the car, gets in his car, and goes home. So that was what they think happened. So they had enough evidence, like after the shoe, to go to trial, and they did, and he was found guilty of murdering Pamela, and I think he was given a life sentence. Yes, he was given a life sentence. So yeah, it was like a really sad story. She was like really pretty, so pretty, and it was just like needless. It's like, why not just come clean about like the money and just move on from it, like, and rebuild, you know? Because from like all accounts, even she had like a audio diary to where she was like recording herself on those like little mini cassette tapes each day, and she was just like absolutely like devoted to him. She was absolutely in love with him, would have done like anything for him. So I think that it was probably something that could have been worked through. It would have been hard, like there would have been a lot of trust stuff going on, but I mean, it's not something that she should have lost her life for. But the cops believe that he started planning her murder prior to, because of continuously paying the life insurance premiums for her. They don't think that he had planned it to happen that night. They think that it was going to be like, you know, later on, like he hadn't fully committed to a plan yet, and that this was just like the boiling point, because it would have come out that he, you know, stole stole her mom's money, and that he would have gotten in trouble like with that for like, you know, theft if she had pressed charges. So yeah. So what did you guys think about today's story? I think it's like so sad. I wonder if he's still in prison. I should look that up. I didn't look that up because this happened in 1987. I'm gonna say he was like in his 30s, so it's been a while, like what, 30 some years. So I mean, he's probably still alive. I'm definitely gonna look that up and see. But that is our story for this evening, guys. I got like a couple rounds done on this thing. I think I got like 3 or like 2.5. It's very awkward to hold, but I really do want to get it done because it's just laying there mocking me every day. Okay, well, I am going to put it up for now, and maybe we'll work on it again during another story. Okay, guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.